Hey folks, welcome to another episode on the VapeTrain gaming channel. So, there's a lot of civil unrest out there right now, and it's completely understandable. And I completely support the Black Lives Matter movement. I really do. Mainly because of the fact that I'm 32 years old, and I have sat here and I have watched all of this. I've seen all of this oppression. I was not exactly raised in the best of neighborhoods. I was around where I had to get in between my friends and police officers because things were about to turn violent just because of information. We constantly put people in power who were raised in an aspect of systematic oppression and racism. And it's been like this since the dawn of our country. We had slaves, we tried to give them freedom, and then in the back alley, we decided to stab them in the back. And we've been doing that ever since. We literally put laws in on a continuous basis to oppress minorities, whether it be African Americans, whether it be Native Americans, and Hispanics, and our country has gone out of the way to constantly make sure that systematic racism and oppression is built into the foundation of our country. And with the ability to share information, we're finally seeing it for what it really is. And that's scary. That is absolutely scary, the fact that we have been so absolutely stupid and blind to so much. And there are so many people out there who still continuously think like this. And the sad part is we constantly put those people in power. We constantly have those in government office that constantly think with the systematic oppression and racism. And we constantly do it. We allow ourselves to be continuously manipulated by our government, by the media, by social media, by everything, as they trickle it in and make sure to influence us in the directions they want. It's almost as bad as, what is it, whenever they would integrate certain things into like TV shows and stuff like that. Whatever. We have been manipulated this whole time on the lies that we were trying to give liberty and freedom to those who have never had it in the country. We had the protests and everything back in the 60s because of the fact that we needed to change things. Things needed to be changed. And of course, right after that happened, more laws were put in to affect it all. Our government does not care about the general public. They care about the ones that have the money and the ones that have the correct pigment. And the government's been like that ever since the start of it. We've done nothing to change it. We've tried. We've done a little bit here and there, and we've done protests and everything else. And it only goes so far. I personally will never have any issues with police officers. And the reason why is because I understand the fact that they are pawns. They are the people that the king is corrupt, so the pawns are corrupt. If we get the right people in office, we put the right people as sheriffs, as chief of police, mayors, governors, presidents, Supreme Court, Senate, Congress, if we put the right people in office, the change can happen. We need to stop dividing ourselves into Democratic, Republican, and liberal, and all that. We need to stop that. We need to stop dividing the country because that's what the government wants. They want us all on different ends fighting against each other so that there will never actually be the realization that the government is what needs to change. The government has constantly done this throughout its entire history. And it's really sad that me being a 32-year-old who was literally raised to love everybody, no matter their pigment, and only judge them on what I've seen or what they've done to me and my family, Why am I having to be the one to say that? Like, one of the people to say this? We have constantly put those in office who want to continue with the oppression. They want to continue underneath the veil of, I'm trying to give people liberty. You don't. I mean, no, it's not like we're, a country that's bad enough where, the government lies and manipulates us and then beats us to death in the street. Oh, wait. We are. We are literally the things that we sit there and we say that we're not all the time. And we don't seem to want to accept the way to change it all. Or the government manipulates us so we think that we know what we're doing. Protests and everything else really, as you can tell, it really does get the word out there. Peaceful protests do even more. And when it comes down to it, the only way we can ever see the change that we need is to remove those from office, remove those from power that think the way the government does. Our government has literally pumped drugs into our entire community to oppress it. We did the war on drugs to oppress it. There's so much that our government... We even have recordings of government officials that literally are talking about how they want to make sure that marijuana stayed illegal so that they could use it against the protesters, so they could use it against the minorities. All this stuff has been there for so long, and we need to change it. Do everything possible to make sure your voice is heard, and most importantly, make sure you vote. Put the right people in office to make the change that you want. Because if you look back at the 60s, yeah, stuff changed. Like, things became a little bit better. But that's just because the government wanted you to think it did. They still are constantly, systematically oppressing minorities. They always have. And I don't understand how we still allow it to happen. Government should always be worried that their people will realize what's going on. And we need to realize what's going on. And things need to change. And we need to do it as non-violently as possible. Because honestly, going around and turning, doing a France thing and, decapitating the higher-ups is not the way to do it. Don't do stuff like that. Beat them at their own game. Remove the people who are oppressive, who are narrow-minded, who are easily corrupted. Remove them from office. Get the right people there, and we will start to see the change that needs to happen. Because, as I was saying before about the pawns, you remove the corrupt king, and it trickles down. The right king or the right person in power will allow people to be held accountable for what they do. Remove the temporary immunities for police officers for doing their job. Like, get rid of all that stuff. Like, we need to make sure that people are held accountable for what they do. For those people in office and those people who are the pawns of the people in power. We need to change and reform the entire government. We need to get all of the narrow-minded, oppressive, and racist people out of office. The easily corruptible need to be removed from office. We need to do a full systematic reform. We need to make that happen. So anytime there's any voting, anytime there's any poll or election in your community, look into them. Do your research, not from social media, not from, the news media or anything like that. Do your own background research. There's more than enough different sites out there that really give you the actual breakdown of who these people are. Stop letting places of power go uncontested. There are so many actual government offices that the same racist, narrow-minded people have literally sat in there unopposed. No one runs against them. The community just lets them sit there and do whatever they want. And we need to stop that. Folks, I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Just saying, first of all, Black Lives Matter. Okay? Every single minority out there matters. Everyone matters. And we need to stop this systematic oppression and racism that is built into our country at its foundation. To all of my viewers, to all of my friends, all of my family, I love you all. And if anybody threatens that, we need to change it. To all my viewers, you are my friends. You are my family. You are my community. And I am so tired of seeing this never changing. So remember, folks, get out there and vote with the right people in power, and you will always see the change that you want. And remember, out of all of this, keep on surviving.